We are talking about mental health today. Welcome to HER Unscripted, episode 4. To me, it's such a huge part of my life, and I think I viewed it in such a negative way, and I view it so positive now that like it doesn't bother me, and it's such a big part of my personality, and I actually enjoy talking about mental health so much because I work on it on a daily basis. Doesn't mean that I don't have my struggles and don't have my moments. I have it on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, whatever you want to say, but I'm so proactive and found what I need to do to make sure that I'm functioning at my absolute best. And it starts with a routine for me. I am on a very, or I try to be on a very predictable routine with things that factor my mental health or impact my mental health drastically. I started dealing with mental health, I would say teenage years. I think typical teenager, rebel, depressed. Oh my God, my life is ending. Someone save me. Um, and it was so hormonal, such a teenage, like my mom's evil and I'm so different. That was my story. I'm so different than my siblings. I just couldn't connect with anyone. Um, and then I snapped out of it, thank God, because what a like ugly stage, but a lot of us go through it. And then my 20s, I definitely had high functioning anxiety. Like, definitely prone to depressive episodes. I just didn't know that's what it was. Instead of learning what I was experiencing or thinking I was going through something, I think it I compared myself with the people around me, like the friends that were so upbeat and happy and lighthearted and experiencing life in a fun way. And I was always anxious and uptight, and I need to sleep at a certain time to wake up at a certain time because I need to count my macros and I need to lift heavy, and not realizing all that was true anxiety that was controlling my life. And it made me feel very insecure about my personality. I thought there was something wrong with me where I'm not a fun person. I'm not a happy person. I'm not, you know, I I just kept criticizing my personality, right? And anxiety got worse with age and then with certain situations in my life. So, I'm going to always go back to my experience with COVID because it was such an impactful moment in my life, but it was also pregnant, Dina. And when you're pregnant, you go through waves of hormone changes. And I found out I had anxiety for so many years because when I was pregnant, all of my anxious thoughts and anxious feelings disappeared. The second I hit like week 10 of pregnancy, I would joke around with my friends that I think I know what high is now because I'm so calm. Like, you can't trigger me. No one was able to piss me off. And man, could people piss me off before. I was always like a ticking time bomb, you know? But I was so calm. I was fun. I was laughy. That's when I was like, oh my God, I think what I was dealing with all these years is actually anxiety. So that's even before COVID. So I just had such a peaceful pregnancy. My gosh, it taught me what normal Dina would be, which is kind of sad that I didn't know what normal Dina would be. And then I was kind of scared that I would give birth and then anxious Dina comes back. And it did. I mean, a few months in, postpartum, anxious Dina came back. Life situations had happened that triggered some stuff. Not dealt with PTSD from the COVID. Some personal things were happening at the same time. And then postpartum depression hit. And that's, I was, that was so hard to fight because I couldn't identify it. I just thought I was dealing with postpartum, but I was so unwell. Like, I think of myself in the home I was living in with Zane, the most perfect baby. Like Zane was an easy, easy, easy child. Breastfed like this, got him on a scheduled sleep so quickly. But that's what tells you postpartum depression is a thing and your life could be perfect, but hormones are a bitch, like truly, and your mental is so impactful. And I was over it. I wanted to run away from my life, from him, from myself. And I remember my niece Lulu visiting me. And I used to say that she would, Haram Lulu, that she would visit me at the worst times. That's how I describe her visits. I'm like, gosh, I love Lulu, but she comes to visit me at the worst times. But that's not what it was. Lulu was visiting me unintentionally at my worst moments. And she came to visit me this one day, and it was the worst day of postpartum depression. I was wearing the ugly green sweater that I have in my office, the grandma sweater. And there's a video that she took of me holding Zane, and I'm faking a smile and I'm going like this. And if you see my video, I look like I'm depressed. I look like I'm in the midst of it. And after she took that video, I'm like, I'm sorry, Lulu. It's just, I'm not having a great day. And slowly I broke down, and she was trying to help me. She's like, I want to help you. I want to help you. Let me take him. Let me do this. And I was like, there's nothing you could help me with. And like, I'm like, she's looking at me as I'm struggling, and I broke and started crying. And I keep saying Lulu saved me from my postpartum depression because she forced me to call my therapist, who I hadn't been seeing, who, once I spoke to her, connected me with a psychiatrist. And that was the first steps of proactive Dina and getting out of this postpartum depression that I thought I was stuck in. And I just thought I wasn't connected to my baby and I was just not good enough to be alive and all this stuff. And it helped me identify what the problem was, which was postpartum depression. I saw the psychiatrist who put me on medication and slowly got out of this funk, which helped me find things that would help me on a daily basis. Because yeah, we could see a therapist, we could get on meds, you could still rot in your bed if you're not proactive. So it got me to be able to step outside in the sunlight. So I'd step outside and go on walks in the sun, and that's therapeutic on its own. And then it got me into running, and that became very therapeutic for me and healing from, what I was going through. And then also, once I finally got out of a postpartum period, I got my blood work done, and that was healing. So with Forever Young, we do a full panel of blood work, right? And our blood work is not your typical doctor's office blood work. We do hormone panels, we do thyroid panels, we do cortisol levels, we do vitamin D3, B12, so many things that actually impact your mental health and your overall health, but your mental. And my vitamin D was, I want to say like an 11, which is horrible. We try to keep you around like 50, 60. But like medical ranges is you never want to be under 33. So I was like an 11. My B12 was low. My cortisol was so high, which is not shocking because I'm naturally an anxious person. My hormones were depleted, which not shocking. Women, I'm in my 30s, postpartum, breastfed for a year, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I did was get my vitamin D regulated. And now I am psycho when it comes to my vitamin D. So when your vitamin D is low, you tend to feel depressed and you tend to feel very tired and lethargic. So I did vitamin D injections, and then till this day, I take 3 vitamin D pills, which is ends up being 5,000 IU's a day, which is on the higher level, but it just keeps me regulated. Once I feel randomly like a little down, I'm like, crap, did I forget my vitamin D? Do I need a shot booster? So vitamin D really helps me with my mental. And my B12, I stay regular because I do IVs consistently. I take cortisol control, which is like adrenal gland calmer, just to keep my cortisol levels at a good place, because when your cortisol super high or even super low, you're just functioning at a high anxious level. So like if you're someone with anxiety, it affects your insides. You're exhausted internally. Other than your mind being exhausted, your body feeling a certain way, but like your organs are functioning at high stress levels, and we don't want that. That causes lower immune systems and all that kind of stuff. um I got on peptide therapy once I was done with breastfeeding and all that, and I've been on and off depending on what's going on in my life, but when I'm regular on it, I feel good. um I mean, in terms of vitamins, I am crazy with it. I do take my vitamin D, I take my cortisol, I take my DIM, I take my pro gut, because your gut health is actually very important, right? So there's studies on gut health and mental health and how connected it is. So I do things on a daily basis just to make sure my gut health is intact. So I take my pro gut. I eat dates, which help the lining of your stomach. I don't eat things that don't make my stomach feel good. I mean, I do have my moments, but for my daily, like, or when I'm just working or need to function at a good level, I am eating things that make my body feel good. I also got into sourdough baking, which uh, there's like actual studies on, like, I mean, my sisters are going to be so annoyed that I'm even saying this, but I always say sourdough is gut health, gut health, gut health, gut health. But it's 3 ingredients. So you're really putting something so clean in your body. But there's microbiomes in sourdough that actually they compare to breast milk for babies, which is insane, which shows you how healthy it is for your gut. So as you can see, you got to focus on your gut health, and on your vitamins. So these are just basic things that I do, that I implement on a daily level, right? Um, and then I also do my workouts, which help me, right? I do my sauna, my cold plunge. So many things have helped me get out of funk, and I still get into my funks. I mean, I think step one is identifying the problem, understanding what it is you're going through, doing basic things on a daily basis to be proactive. Being proactive alone gets you out of a funk. Deciding I don't want to feel a certain way gets you out of funk. They say gratitude cures depression, which gets you out of a funk, right? So identifying what you need to identify, which is very important. And then, feeling proactive. And then also, there's different things. Sometimes there's people in your life that don't make you feel good. Identifying that. Identifying that a relationship's not healthy for you, a friendship's not healthy for you, an environment is not healthy for you, certain foods aren't healthy for you, a workplace isn't healthy for you. I think of, my workplace now, and how I don't like being around employees that are not, high energy, positive, good people, because it impacts me. And if it impacts me, it impacts them, and I just don't want to be around it. So I think taking control over what you can take control over is so important. And because there's parts of life we can't control, and we need to leave room and strength to handle what we can't control. Um, and just addressing everything the way, one by one. I mean, this is interesting, but I recently realized I have something called premenstrual dysphoric something, but it's pretty much where, yeah, there's pretty much something that like a week before my period, the level of anxiety I have, which is like a 3-day period, like time frame, high anxiety, a lot of times like depressive. And I mentioned it to my sisters a few months ago. And then my sister Hella, like last month or the month before, I was like, God, I'm feeling this way. And she's like, remember, you have this. What you're feeling is not real. And like that sentence like regulated me. I was like, wow, what I'm feeling is not real. And she's like, it'll be gone tomorrow. Guess what? Midday tomorrow was gone. And it was identifying the problem, realizing your thoughts aren't facts, right? Your thoughts aren't facts. Your emotions are just little blimps of your day. And, just identifying what's real and what's not real. And I remember this one therapist told me that, like, when you had extra thoughts, to imagine them as clouds over your head and like flick it off and make the thought go away. And I physically, like, in my head, not physically, imagine myself flicking off a cloud, and it like makes that thought exit my head. Um, like it helps with the overthinking and all that kind of stuff. So it's identifying the problem. I'm going to keep saying identifying the problem because that's how we solve issues, right? And then like really looking at things from a scientific point of view. So hormones. I'm going to say it again, hormones are a bitch, right? And especially for women, as we exit and enter different stages in our life. So think of our bodies, right? We get our period at 11, 12 years old. We're in this stage of life. 7 years later, we go through a hormone surge that changes us. You start having babies. You go through the hormones. Like, think of my pregnancy. I was like on cloud 9, and then the drop into this freaking postpartum depression that I thought was going to destroy me. Right. And then we enter our 40s and our 50s, and we're perimenopausal, and then we're going through menopause. And that drop in estrogen is so drastic and so unhealthy for us that women are now getting diagnosed with a depression and ADHD at the age of 40 to 45. And they're actually just experiencing perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms instead of addressing what the real problem is, which is getting your blood work done, dissecting every level and seeing what will fix this, right? So that hormone decrease causes so many issues because it's not just testosterone, which gives us energy, gives us this positive thinking and good libido and all this stuff. Estrogen, that drop makes you depressed. It makes you anxious. It makes you feel horrible. And that's, you're starting to feel like that getting to a certain age. Try to get checked by functional medicine. I'm so blessed to not only work in such an amazing industry and have access to this, which everyone has access nowadays. You're more than welcome to ask me about it, but also I am surrounded by women like my mother and my older sisters who are so educated on the topic, and we talk about these things so much, and I'm able to watch them experience life ahead of me, and then I get to learn it and see what I need to do and how I can improve and implement certain healthy factors. So I mean, I'm lucky to have, my mom and my sisters and my dad, and they're very active people, right? They worked out their whole life. So I think that's where the proactive kind of came from. Like, I think of my mom when she used to wake us up when we were living in Palestine. I was in like 5th grade, and she would wake us up all sweaty because she was in her room doing aerobics through a video VHS. And she'd wake up at 5, get her workout in, which at the time, think about it, like in Palestine, no one was working out, like, no. And she was just mentally proactive with herself. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by so many people, but it's still a struggle. And we need to do what we need to do and identify the problem and address the problem and talk to people around us. I think communicating, like even what I said to my sister that, oh, I get my period in a week and I'm just so anxious and I'm so this and I'm so that. She knew because I shared with her, which is not the way I always was. I was a secret like book that no one could ever open. But she helped me identify what I was going through and that, hey, calm down. Those aren't real what you're feeling. Um, so mental health is a big, important topic for me, and I hope I'm able to impact someone and encourage someone in seeking help, even if it's sending me a message and saying, hey, I feel this way, or what vitamin do you recommend, or can I come and do my blood work, or it's sharing your thoughts and feelings. And I hope this encourages someone to take a walk outside because just being outside is therapeutic. There's something called forest bathing, which I thought it meant bathing in the forest. But it actually means doing something outside that makes you feel like you're one with nature. And it's known to calm your cortisol levels and calm your anxiety levels. There's like a scientific study on it. And forest bathing means sitting on the grass and touching the grass, or letting the wind touch you, or staring at trees, anything nature that God created, and looking at it, taking a deep breath and appreciating it. That's forest bathing. And it's helped me a lot. Even at work, if I need to step out and I look around and I take 3 deep breaths and just look at a cloud or look at a tree or look at, just the incredible world we live in, uh, is very, very helpful.